Pennsylvania, so there's been some chicanery afoot. I'm trying to ping Scott Preston, but I know that he's beyond busy and beyond overwhelmed, so I'm not taking it personally, but there were videos coming out of Pennsylvania yesterday that were showing chicanery being afoot. This is one such video coming from Jack Posobiec, and there's a number of them. The problem is there's a lot of information to digest, and there's a lot of fog of war confusion. They had early voting, which, from what I understand, ended yesterday, and it was supposed to end yesterday at 4:30. Early voting, you wait in line and you vote early in person. By the way, everyone, I won't tell you who to vote for. I'll just tell you what you get if you vote for Kamala Harris. You get a future that looks like the United Kingdom. You get journalists locked up for 18 months. You get censored. You get political persecutions, and you get weaponized Department of Justice going after your political adversaries and their supporters. Vote accordingly, but get out there and vote, because this is the most consequential election in the history of America that will determine the future. Donald Trump is still in this by the breath of some form of divine intervention. If that does not inspire you to get out there and vote for the man, but for the grace of God would not be here. I'm Canadian. I cannot vote. I would have been out there not taking selfies because it's illegal in certain states. If that is that you have the miracle of being able to vote for Donald Trump right now. If that entire incident didn't change your perspective of the world and the universe in which we live to motivate you to get your ass out of your seat and go vote, nothing will. And it should, and it will, November 5th. And early voting where it's accessible. So Pennsylvania, they had early voting. They get to the line out of the person's walking, and apparently they cut the line. They said, no, sorry, I know the voting is supposed to go until 4:30. We've cut it now. I'll just play the video so no one
until 4:30.
No one accuses me of misrepresenting. Okay.
Talk to this.
Are they going to turn everyone down?
I'm going to ask you to talk to this gentleman because the voting is closed right now.
It's closed.
I just want you to talk to this gentleman.
We have the right to vote until 4:30.
I got you.
Why is it closed?
Let me explain it to you.
Please.
Let me explain to you.
Okay. This process is very slow and grueling.
That doesn't matter if we're online.
Very slow and grueling.
It doesn't matter if we're online by 4:30. We have the right to
why it
vote.
had to close was because a high volume of people wanted to do this. Slow and grueling.
Well, then they
So
have
they
to
had
wait
to-
till everyone's.
They had to cut
doesn't-
the line at 1:45.
They could.
Slow and grueling. I've participated in federal elections. I have some mild experience with the political process. It's a freaking early voting line. Agreed. Okay, it's going to be slow. I don't know what grueling. Maybe waiting out in the hot sunlight. I can appreciate that. Slow and grueling. It's also the election. It's also voting. It's slow and grueling. Okay, you're just going to have to pull a Hillary Clinton and power through it? Slow and grueling. So what do? And I'm not trying to make fun of this officer. I don't know which side he's on. I don't know if he's saying this because he can't believe that it's happening, or he's a Democrat operative trying to prevent Republicans from voting early in Pennsylvania.
Cut the line at 1:45.
1:45.
You hear that, everyone? They cut the line at 1:45.
Here's your.
This is voter fraud, by the way.
No, it's
Who?
not.
Yes, it is.
But I think
Oh, voter
actually voter fraud.
protection. I heard about that on X. Yeah, there's a lot going on.
I further just appreciate that. I heard about that on X. It's a stat that I don't think many people fully appreciate, but I've said it and I'll say it again. 108 million Americans are on X. There's a lot of bots, so I don't know. There's a lot of probably American bots. There's a lot of Democrats who are there for, their shit posting and their silos. But if you're talking about a platform that has the reach of America, there's no other platform on earth. When you talk about Rumble's reach and you have 200,000, 300,000 people watching Dan Bongino, 50, 80,000 watching Steven Crowder, 50, 60,000 watching Tim Pool, however many thousand are watching us right now. And by and large, it's going to be a North American audience. You're reaching an impossible amount of people under traditional legacy media who had a monopoly over the access to information. It's amazing that that's what this person on the street is saying. She took to Twitter. The next day, legal results. We'll get there.
Protection. Let's see what that's
Contact
from.
the county commissioners to complain.
This is, and so you don't think this is voter fraud? This is voter fraud.
It's early voting, and we're shutting it down early. Sorry, I know it's supposed to go until 4:45, but 4:30.
See that, everyone?
We're shutting it down at 1:45 because it's slow and grueling.
They cut the
Look
line.
at that cute little dog.
Even though
over
we
there.
have till 4:30. Election fraud.
All right,
Here in
so
Bucks County.
there's a number of other stories coming out. Apparently, people phony people posing as vote inspectors. I forget what the exact word is. And now, bottom line, that was occurring. Listen to this. Listen to how the MSM, with their non-existent form of monopoly over the media, a clumsy early voting option has backed up election offices in Pennsylvania and frustrated voters. This was from yesterday. The new procedure in Pennsylvania is leading to hours-long lines as voters swamp county offices that aren't prepared to handle the influx before Election Day. Geez, Shapiro. I mean, I don't want to blame Shapiro, but I'm going to because I don't know who else to blame or who else would be responsible for this. It's not like you had 4 years to prepare for this. My goodness. It's not like early voting, I presume, went much smoother when you didn't know that it was more Republicans than Democrats early voting. It's clumsy. If this were Republicans doing it to conservatives because Republicans doing it to Democrats, it would be voter disenfranchisement. You'd have Mark Elias sobbing like a little biatch on the internet, crying about how the Republicans are trying to disenfranchise Democrats of their votes. But the other way around, you know that it's disproportionately Republican, clumsy. Coming from PBS propaganda. Clumsy, time-consuming early voting, yada, yada. The confusion is partly the result of Pennsylvania law passed just before the pandemic, and partly from crowds of Republican voters heeding to calls by their party and former President Donald Trump to vote early. Trump's entreaties. Sorry, hold on one second. I just want to make sure I look up entreaties. I know what it means under the context, but it's an earnest and humble request. Yeah. Trump's entreaties, I say, to his supporters to cast a ballot before November 5th come after he repeatedly attacked forms of early voting in previous. Do you appreciate that this is all bullshit political editorializing? It's a clumsy process that now they understand is affecting disproportionately Republican voters because they're voting early now because Trump complained about early voting earlier, but now is asking his voters to vote early. What a hypocrite. How about you just get the system to work, you freaking idiots? In the seat of the suburban yada yada, often seen as a political bellwether. In the seat of suburban Philadelphia's Bucks County, often seen as a political bellwether, voters waited up to 3 hours on Tuesday, the final day to apply for a mail ballot. Why the change from 4 years ago? Yada, okay, who cares? Because he told us to vote early. I was trying to make it too big to rig. They're blaming them. Why are you voting early? He said, make it too big to rig. Hey, and what are you doing that right now? Looks like you might be rigging it. They're not rigging it. Don't black pill, don't despair. Get out there and vote and make this happen. And then make the stories surface and make them get confirmed correct by the courts. So yeah, that's why I'm voting at the courthouse and wanted to have my vote in person. The early voting angst is the latest dust-up over voting in Pennsylvania, which has the largest trove of electoral votes of any battleground state and is by far the state most visited by the Democrat and Republican candidates, yada, yada, yada. Culprit of the latest controversy is a law that the Pennsylvania legislature, then controlled by Republicans, passed in 2019 in an attempt to expand mail-in voting. They created a system for early voting, very different than in most other states, where registered voters can go to vote at a center in the county and cast a ballot before Election Day. Instead, the on-demand voting, yada, yada. Okay, it's a process that can take up to about 12 minutes per voter if everything goes right. Voters have the option of filling out the ballot on the spot and turning it in to, okay, fine, yada, yada. Bottom line, let's see here, go down, scroll down. As early voting drew to a close, Republican lawmakers said in a letter to Bucks County officials that they had fielded complaints from voters about the county office closing over the weekend while people were still in line to apply for a mail-in ballot. In a statement posted to his website, Bucks County said it may need to stop taking applicants to ensure all applications are processed by the end of the day. Quote, when you're told that, yes, you can go do early voting by someone, and then you show up and do what you're told, well, no, you can't do early voting. You know, voters aren't sure who to believe, he said. Okay, well, you can believe the courts. Let's go over to Jack Posobiec, who tweeted out, breaking, we just won in Bucks County. Judge orders county to extend early voting until Friday by 5 p.m. in Bucks after violating state election code. Doing your job for you, Josh Shapiro. That's news coming from Jack Poso and the news in the news. Associated Press, judge extends early voting option into suburban Philadelphia after Trump's campaign sued. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania judge on Wednesday sided with Donald Trump's campaign and agreed to extend in-person voting option in suburban Philadelphia, where long lines on the final day led to complaints that voters were being disenfranchised by an unprepared election office. They only had 4 effing years to prepare. Maybe if they spend less time trying to, leave a roof unsecured to take care of their voting woes, maybe they should have put a little more effort into this. I don't know. I want to blame Shapiro. He's the buck should stop with him. So let's go ahead and do that. Voters who want to vote early have until Friday Trump's campaign's lawsuit, which was filed Wednesday morning, comes amidst a flurry of litigation in the battleground state. It sought a one-day extension through Wednesday for voters to apply in person. The judge's order permits applications through the close of business Friday. Neighboring Lee County on Tuesday asked the judge to extend the deadline there by one day through Wednesday because road closures in downtown Allentown and around Trumps Valley blocked access to the election thing. The judge agreed. Get out there and vote, people. Make it not too big to rig, not beat the cheat. Make it humiliating. Make it decisive. Make it a popular vote decisive. They're going to have to shut up and agree and understand that they've been a vocal minority and not anything of a form of a representative majority.